Hey guys, it's Mike coming at you with another Raid Shadow Legends free-to-play video. We are on to day 5 and 6. I've been trying to put a video out every day, but there's really not that much to cover, so I figure every 2 days we'll take a peek at the account, and I'll accumulate as many ancient shards as I can, and we'll pull them every time just to see how we can advance the account along. So far we're doing pretty good. We got our kale still at 5-star 50. We got our first piece of 5-star food. We do have 1, 2, 3, 4 more characters that are almost 4-star ready to be moved up, and then we're starting to work on the food to feed to them to get them to 5-star. So I hope in the next day or two we are able to get kale up to 6 stars, and we are later today we get our legendary Alice that's coming in here. There it is, Alice Chase. I haven't looked at her kit. It may be worthwhile to move her directly into my 6-star position instead of kale and run them kind of side by side, but we will see after taking a peek at her kit. In fact, we could probably go do that right now. If we go and do, I did also get all of the fragments necessary for this epic Sabbatha, and her kit seems like she's a better version of the rare character I have been using for revival. So I do think that she'll probably just replace that character, so he'll end up being a 5-star food as well. So we're kind of getting a little head start on our next piece, so that's pretty exciting. So we'll go ahead and get her today, and then we'll pull these 10. On the campaign front, we have almost got all the way through Brutal. Got some more rewards there. 300,000 silver is nothing to frown at. I will say that the silver in this game is still very broken. I think that Plarium has done a good job sort of with that 7-day startup thing, and I don't know if that's happening all the time or if that's a promotional thing right now, but you should just get more silver in everything that you do. And certain things should not require silver, especially at this point in the game. Like if you're outfitting characters with gear, it shouldn't cost any money to move gear around. First of all, you're starting with garbage gear, so you're gonna be switching it out all the time. Second of all, you're learning the game, so you don't know what gear sets work, what gear sets don't, and it gives you the opportunity to try things out without having such a sacrifice of an asset that's so limited. So I do think moving gear, they have the occasional times where you can do it for free. It should be all the time, or it should be significantly less expensive. But I think especially for a starting account, like for the first 2 months, you should have no cost to moving gear. When you start getting more in-game account, I mean, you could put a cost on moving 6-star gear or something like that just to limit the in-game players. But it just is such a frustrating thing, and it encourages you not to rebuild champions, which is a lot of the fun of this game, is building champions, trying different gear sets. But with the costs associated, it's kind of frustrating, and it kind of makes you not want to do it. So that'd be some advice I'd give to GodForge in that space. Maybe either a startup program where you don't have costs there, or just removing that cost altogether. Because it's just kind of a frustrating thing to have to pay for, to be honest with you. So there's that. But in the campaign, we are moving through. We've almost got Brutal dialed in here. With the what are we on? Stage 5. So we got a couple more levels before we beat Brutal. We'll have a lot of work to do before we can start to 3-star to come get this Sacred Shard, and then we can move on to Nightmare. Probably be a minute before I get into Nightmare though, but the campaign progression is a lot of the fun of this game for me right now. It's because you see gains in your account. They have slowed down a lot since the first day or two. I mean, obviously we're on to day 5 and 6 now, so you know, it's harder to get a 6-star character than it is a 4-star character, and so it just takes a little more time, a little more grind, but that's where we're at. On the missions, I actually came to a standstill with these 25 lesser potions. I wanted to use my energy towards the tournament. We've got the Dragon Tournament going on right now. I know I'm not going to be able to get the Mad Hatter Legendary, but I am trying to get to these rewards here, as well as stay in a place where I can get some Ancient Shards, because that's going to help my account along, and potentially I might have the opportunity to get 2 of this character and turn the second one into food, potentially. So that could be a benefit to get another 4-star character for free, basically by doing the rewards. The other thing right now is we do have the Dragon event going on where you get 2 times on speed, which is a good thing for a starting account to get some extra speed gear. This guy here, I'm kind of doing a pretty good job here. Again, we got 5-star artifacts here, which would be amazing. I'm not entirely sure. I'm pretty sure these are relics, but I haven't even really looked into what these masks are doing. But again, just trying to get as many of the rewards as I can, because it's basically free stuff and everything is benefiting my account right now. As far as the dungeons, I haven't made a lot of progress just because my 5-star Kale is a 5-star Kale. So I haven't been able to get a little more power on him. I did upgrade some of his gear, got a 6-star piece of, and this was from the daily login. And then I did get an attack chest plate on him, and I did find some gloves that got some crit rate. So we almost have his crit rate up to 100. That's priority 1, getting crit rate up. Then we start working on crit damage, and then attack, and try to get a little more damage out of him. But we're going to start moving some of these gear pieces up. These are 5-star gears. They'll probably be good on the account for a little while, so taking them to 16 is not a bad way to go. I am waiting for an artifact enhancement event. That's why this one's on level 15. That way I just have 1 level to push it over and get those extra points on that event, which will be helpful to get some extra rewards along the way. But we're going to go ahead. We've got, 53 spots open here. So we're going to go ahead and pull the mystery shard so we have some food, hopefully get some rares. Been stacking those up as well. And we'll create some space, and then we'll come back and pull that 10-pack of ancient shards. The second 10-pack on the free-to-play account. I won't make you watch these guys. We'll make it go through quick here. Summoned our 3 champions. Hopefully pull a rare or 2 during these. But that extra drop rate, I do feel it has been very helpful by adding, I think is 0.4% or something like that. You do see a lot more rares come into these mystery shards, even though today is not the day. I have been really fortunate though. I've gotten an Elhain, I got 2 apothecaries, so you know, doing pretty well. We'll create some space. We'll be right back. All right, we're back at it. We'll get this, get these last 40 going, and then we'll create space again and get the ancients pulled as well. So the nice thing is, after this, I should have all the food I need, hopefully through brews and some minor upgrades to actually get my 6-star or all my 5-star food for my 6-star champion. And we'll take a look at Alice's kit and see if she's the right move or moving forward with Kale. Sometimes the legendary characters are a little more specific. I didn't create enough space. We'll do it and get it dialed in. But sometimes legendary characters are a little more specific in what they do, and they're not as well rounded. So your starter champion could technically still be your best choice, but I'm not familiar with Alice's kit, so we'll find out for sure. All right, we're back. We're going to grab this last 10-pack of mystery shards and move on to the ancient shards. So again, hopefully we have enough food to move forward and get that 5-star character by the end of the day. It'll be on the next video probably. And this is what we've been waiting for. I forgot we still have these enhanced chances for Prince Kaimar. It'd be pretty amazing for the account. Here we go. It's amazing how hard it is to get them and how fast they go. Oh, we got an epic. Oh, Venomage. That's a great pull right there. Secondary epic. Third epic. Wow. Okay. So Venomage is a great poison champion. It will be a phenomenal clan boss addition to the team. Targets one enemy 2 times, destroys the target's max HP, and does heal reduction. Each hit has a 35% chance of activating up to 2 poisons. So activating, which is kind of a nice thing. We also have the decreased defense, attacks 1 enemy, as well as decreased attack. So that actually would take over what I'm getting out of Coffin Smasher with the decreased attack. Although Coffin Smasher does have the HP burn, but he's bringing in a lot more poisons, or she's bringing in a lot more poisons. I'm not sure on the Venomage. And it attacks all enemies, has a 75% chance of placing 100% heal reduction. So that's going to be amazing for the Spirit Keep. Getting those Spirit Potions, that's going to make it a lot better than watching her heal herself all the time and you barely get through it. Enemies under heal reduction, debuffs inflict 15% less damage. So that's another kind of nice piece of things where it's going to be helping your team stay alive. On the aura, we have increased ally accuracy in all battles by 45, which is really good for a starting account because it's hard to get your accuracy high enough to land some of these poisons. I know with my Kale on clan boss, especially in the hard mode, I don't land as many of my poisons as I definitely should. So something like this might be worthwhile trying to see if I can get a little more damage with that extra accuracy. But that's a great pull for the account. Romero, we're not really going to talk a lot about him. He's pretty much trash. He's been power crept unless they've buffed him, which I highly doubt because they don't tend to do that. Maruka, I have never seen before, so she might be a new champion to the game in the last year and a half or so. attacks one enemy 2 times. Each hit has a 15% chance of decreased speed, the big version, so that's pretty good. It is on one enemy though. Removes all debuffs from a target ally, so not from all allies. Then heals them by 50% of their max HP. So that's a pretty good heal for a single ally. It would be awesome as an AoE. Places a revive on death buff on all allies for 2 turns. So that's pretty good. The revive on death can be a benefit, especially when you're trying to get 3 stars on stuff. I don't know that the rest of her kit's going to help me. It's going to be enough for her to be one of 2 champions to get through the campaign. But the revive on death, in case your main damage dealer dies, they just pop back up. I always find that my team moves so fast that having this buff stay on over 2 turns, it's got to be timed perfectly, and it just usually is really hard to do. And then last but not least, we're going to go ahead and grab our Sabbatha and summon Sabbatha as well. So we've seen some really big gains to the account today with 4 new epics. 2 of them are worth talking about. So I was looking at Sabbatha's kit. She's going to heal the ally with the lowest HP by 10% of this champion's max HP, which is really nice because I can build her to have a significantly higher HP so that her heals are bigger. Which is going to be really helpful to the whole team. Her damage is based on attack, which is unfortunate. If it was based on HP, it'd be kind of a twofer, but we're really not looking to get damage out of her. She's more about survivability. This is a really good ability here. She places the 60%, the big version of increased defense buff and increased attack buff on all allies for 2 turns. Which is going to be a huge win, especially you can do that in arena as well as campaign, just keeping your team alive with that increased defense and attack up for your damage dealer. That's going to be a really powerful ability for me. Revives an ally, just 1, with 25% HP and 100% turn meter, which is actually really strong. That's a really strong ability. I think it is pretty close to even like Sifi. Has this kind of 100% turn meter revive, but she also places a block damage on that ally for 2 turns, so help them get some time to get some more heals in or whatever the case is. So she seems to be a really good champion for sustainability and durability. And then as a passive, you can have the ability once she's ascended, which she takes a lot of potions as an epic character, but that's okay. Whenever this champion revives an ally, it decreases the cooldown of one of those champion skills by 1 turn. So that kind of puts them back into the fight with 100% turn meter and potentially right into their main ability, which would be super helpful. And then we have increases ally HP in all battles, which is nice, by 25%. So that may be better than Kale. I think Kale's is 15%. So if she does end up on the team, it might be better to have her as the lead. So let's see, yeah, 15% for Kale. So that is a step up in the aura there as well. So that's a pretty big win. A lot of good things happening there on the account. Can't complain. So I was watching the latest Godforge video where Chosen and Ivy Lee were talking to a content creator that spends time in Watcher of Realms, and they asked a really interesting question about how fast to get legendary characters and things of that nature and what works well. And I was just going to spend a little bit of time to talk about what I think Raid does really well in this space. So the main concern that was brought up was as you get better and better characters, it really makes your rare characters and epic characters less and less relevant, which is fair. I mean, you don't want every single character in every part of the game to have to be legendary to be successful. But one thing that I think that Raid does extremely well is you have tiered versions of characters. So for example, if I'm looking for a rare version of a defense down, I have War Maiden here. So I can get the big version of the defense down on her on a 4-turn cooldown. When she's booked, it's down to 3. But this skill comes basically by itself. Like, it doesn't have weaken, it doesn't have anything else. It does attack all enemies at the same time, but there's no next step, next level to this. Now, if I move from War Maiden and I happen to pick up, say, a Madame Cerise, now things start to get a little bit different. So we go into, and she is a Dark Elf here in Epic. Where are we at? All right, there she is. I can't wait to get one of these on the account. She has this ability here where she's going to remove all buffs from the enemy and then place not only the big version of decreased defense, but also decreased attack. And so this maneuver right here is an amazing ability that's definitely a step up from what War Maiden's doing. Now it is on a 4-turn cooldown instead of a 3-turn cooldown when booked, but this ability is going to be a significant upgrade to what War Maiden does. The rest of her kit is also pretty good with the True Fear and the block debuffs, and she does some other things that add additional utility to this champion. And so moving from a rare version of this champion to an epic version can be a huge step up. Then from there, you have the next level where you can jump into the legendary character, and someone like a Dracomorph would come to mind, where a Dracomorph has the ability to do decreased defense and weaken, but also has a little more utility in these poisons, 4 hits, to do a little more damage. So it's not even necessarily to say Dracomorph's better or an upgrade to Madame Cerise. It kind of depends on what you need. But if you think about Dracomorph takes the place of a War Maiden and a Kale all by himself, where he's doing the poisons, he's doing the decreased defense and weaken. So that would be an ability that Hellborn Sprite would bring in. So he's basically doing the abilities of 3 rare characters in 1 legendary character, and seeing how you're limited on how many characters you can have on your team at any given time. The more things that a character does, it's going to make them more effective. Now he doesn't really have an AoE ability that's going to do a lot of damage other than the poisons, hitting 4 times at random. So it's kind of AoE, but not really. So there are perks to even Kale over him. So there's balances and things that you kind of put together. But as you start building your team and building your synergies and determining what you need, Raid does an amazing job of having a lot of champions that can start to piece together those puzzle pieces for you. And depending on what you're missing, you might bring in like a Hellborn. Like say you really need that weaken ability, but you don't have your Dracomorph. Well, maybe Hellborn Sprite makes sense. Such in that in-game team with Clan Boss, where they're using Hellborn Sprite for her weaken ability, but also her addition to buffs or buff increase duration, she becomes viable in a very in-game team. So those are the kind of things that I think Raid does really, really well, where it's you get versions of the things you get from legendary characters. You just don't get as many of them. So you may take 2 or 3 rare characters to put together what a legendary character would do in that same space. And I think that that's a great way to get players engaged and really start to work through theory crafting teams and what you need, and trying to understand like, okay, I need this defense down from here on because the defensive campaign is getting so high that without it I'm not doing enough damage. So that defense down is necessary. Where right now on my team, I have it. I have it here with War Maiden. Before I got War Maiden, you had individual instead of it being AoE. I think there's even uncommon characters that bring in decreased defense as an individual, or an AoE ability, but maybe the weaker version. So it's like all those things you just kind of increasingly get better along the way. Like we talked about Venomage with the poisons, it's probably a better poisoner than Kale. With the poison activations and laying poisons himself, being able to do that job. Now he's not going to do the AoE damage that Kale does, so that's going to be a sacrifice moving over to him. But if we're looking at Clan Boss specifically, I don't need AoE damage, so that could be a benefit. Also, I'm not stacking up 10 debuffs on the Clan Boss, so it might be worthwhile to use Kale and Venomage and get rid of my Reviver. Because a Reviver on Clan Boss, by the time people are dying, the Reviver's probably not doing enough work to bring them back to life and give them a chance to actually get back in the fight. Although with my new Reviver, potentially that's the case, because she does bring them back with 100% turn meter and block damage for 2 turns. So that would be definitely an improvement. So over here, Meat Carver is probably going to end up being food, because Sabbatha is going to be a significant upgrade to what he's doing, what he's bringing to the team. I did also want to bring up one more thing. I started to kind of realize what's going on. We got that 2x speed on the dragon. That's kind of cool. With the event dungeon here, you are getting accessories in here that you can use on any player, which is kind of nice. Especially when you start running Spider, it's a really hard dungeon in the beginning because you just don't have enough AoE damage. So as you start to upgrade your characters, you can get these pieces that you can assign to any character. Which I think is good, because you have so many factions. trying to land a banner or a ring or an amulet for your starting character or whatever, it is kind of difficult, and then you're trying to get a specific one, like if you want crit damage or whatever, which I'd really love to have. I have defense. But if you could get crit damage right here, that would be a huge win. And instead of trying to get crit damage in the faction you need with the RNG that takes, now it's like you get one piece of crit damage and you can use it wherever you need it while you're trying to get the other pieces, which I think is kind of cool. That was a really good pickup for the game. Also, it was a good benefit in the sense that it gives you another place to farm these accessories other than Spider. Because I think that for a long time there, getting high in Spider it's kind of more mid to end game. Like you start getting very specific characters. Speaking of which, I am working, starting to build up my Armiger. I always say Armiger, there's no N there. Armiger? I don't know. Anyway, starting to build up my Armiger. Gonna get him booked up with copies of himself. No need to like use books or anything like that. But the key thing on his kit is his turn meter. Well, he does do damage with this enemy max HP based on defense, so you can make him very tanky. But on his A1, as long as he is hitting with a critical attack, which you want 100% crit rate is necessary, he's going to decrease the turn meter by 30%. You also do need to get his accuracy up for this to actually land. So he's got to be accurate with high defense and 100% crit rate. And then from there, if you could start pushing his crit damage, so when he does this attack, he does a little more damage, that will be helpful. But ultimately, that turn meter is what you're looking for in Spider to help you along the way. So he's kind of a back burner project. I'm just kind of putting it together as I pull extra copies of him, and then I'm going to start building him up. I have been really pleased with Apothecary at 4-star 40. He's doing a great job there. He probably will be my first 5-star character, just because at 5-star 50 he can live there for a really long time. I don't need to bring him up to 6 stars, but that will make him just a little more effective. And then also I pull up my War Maiden, depending on whether or not I pull a different champion that does a better job in the AoE defense down. So those would be two of the champions I might bring up. So real quick, I want to take a look at Alice's kit just to see if it makes more sense to save my 5-star chickens for Alice or to use them on Kale. Attacks one enemy 2 times, places an extra hit if this target has any active skills on cooldown. So that's kind of nice. So I mean, typically your A1, you're going to have an active skill on cooldown, so she's probably most of the time going to be hitting with this extra hit. Each hit has an 80% chance of decreasing the duration of a random buff on the target by 1 turn. So theoretically that could happen 3 times. You could decrease the duration of a random buff. So if they had multiple buffs, it could do it on 3 different buffs, or just 1 buff 3 times potentially. But that'd be pretty cool. So somebody that had like block damage for 2 turns, like a Knights Templar or whatever, she could remove that completely with this one A1 ability. So here's your AoE ability. It has a 75% chance of increasing the cooldowns of all enemy skills by 2 turns. So this kind of has almost like a Warlord lockout ability, where it's going to prevent them from being able to use their skills. 75%, and it does book up to 100 when you do get the books in her. That's actually incredible. That's going to be really good for Arena if you can get her to go first. Now they're A1ing you for 2 turns, they're tickling you to death, and you have an opportunity to probably get 2 cycles of turns in of your abilities before the enemy's able to get you, as long as you're running fast enough. So that's actually a huge win right there. I would imagine her multipliers are going to be significantly better than Kale's, so this AoE is probably going to do a lot more damage than his does as well. Alright, secondly, this ability is actually pretty cool as well. It's the same ability as with her AoE, but it also has the 75% chance of decreasing each target's turn meter by 15%, which is awesome. If that target happens to get one of their skills pushed to the maximum cooldown, it would do 30% instead. Again, booking to 100% chance. So you have turn meter down, as well as blocking the ability for them to do their heavy abilities. That's a really good ability right there. It is on a 4-turn, books down to a 3-turn. Problem here is at this stage of the game, epic books are incredibly hard to come by, so it's going to be a while before I'm able to book her out. but definitely worthwhile as far as what she's doing. On her A3 here, we got Queen Slayer. Attacks one enemy, will ignore 20% of the target's defense. If the initial target is killed, also attacks the enemy with the lowest HP, will also ignore 20% of the target's defense. That's interesting. I wonder if she kills that enemy too, if she will move through to the next one, kind of like a Septimus, where it's just as long as the enemy dies, she just keeps going. That'll be interesting to see, but even still, if you have an enemy that is close to dying, this could be really good in campaign farming, because sometimes you have 2 or 3 enemies that all have low health. But if they get another turn before you do when you're farming food, because you have one champion trying to kill 3 people, this could be a way of kind of getting some AoE damage even when you don't have the AoE ability unlocked. So on the passive here, it's kind of interesting. TikTok, whenever this champion attacks, she inflicts 3% more damage to each target for each turn remaining on their skill's cooldowns. So that could stack up quite a bit, especially if they have a lot of turns. Like I think Razin has a 6-turn cooldown ability or something like that. That'd be 18% extra damage you're doing, and the bonus damage is counted individually on each target. And then the active effect there is resets the cooldown of one of this champion's skills each time they kill an enemy, occurs once per skill. So that's pretty cool. So she's going to reset her abilities every time she kills a champion. And then her aura is she increases ally attack in all battles by 30%. That's going to be super strong, especially when you're lacking gear and you don't have all the right pieces you need. This is actually going to be a huge benefit as well. So based on her kit, I think hands down she's the smarter choice to take 6-star first. I think that, yeah, she's going to be a definite upgrade to what we got going on. As far as books, she's very effective without books, because it will be even longer before I get the legendary books to book her out, but we're looking at 9 and 3 is 12. So that, I mean, honestly, that's a very appropriate amount of legendary books. Some of these characters take like 18 to 20 books, and you're just like, man, there's gonna be a lot of tournaments I'm gonna have to win to get some legendary books to book these characters out, especially on a free-to-play account. But we do get to pick her up in just a few hours, so hopefully I can put that food together and take her directly to 6 stars once we pick her up. I don't know if I have the brews to bring her up to level 50, so we might have to do a little bit of farming to get her caught up and then bring her up. So maybe all of that stuff can happen simultaneously. And then for the next 7 days, we do get some more rewards along the way, some goodies to help the account along, which will be beneficial. So my avenue forward is to stay on top of the tournaments, not necessarily win. I'm obviously try to get this epic book now because I have some epic characters that would be great to book. So work through, get this 1500. Try to stay in a space where I'm getting this ancient and this better gear. That would be a huge win for me at this point in time. I would like to be able to pick up another one of these characters if possible, just so I can have her as food. I think that would be a 4-star chicken at this point. It's going to be huge for the account. So I'm doing pretty well staying on top of these things and just kind of grinding it out. We got Sand Devil Turn Attack coming up. That is not part of this event. That's going to be a separate challenge. I haven't even unlocked Sand Devil yet, so I don't think that I'll be partaking in that one. But over here we got the Dungeon Diver events. A lot of times they do line these up where you have the Dragon event plus Dungeon Divers, so you kind of double up. I did buy some energy using rubies to kind of get going on this, just because I'm farming such a low level that I need to do a lot of runs in order to get some of these points on the Dungeon Diver, and I really wanted to get here. Now at this point I really want to get here because that epic tome, again, those are really hard to come by at this stage in the game. I only have 12 hours left, so I better get busy on that. Probably gonna have to buy a lot of energy and kind of run through the math of how much energy I'd have to buy and whether or not it's realistic. I only need, what is that, 601. I can do math, I promise. Sometimes when I've had coffee. So 601, that's probably not too bad. I think it will be worth it just to get this epic tome. I should be more in the know of what this is and whether or not I should be excited about it. Chances are, if it's this deep into the rewards, I should be excited about it. I just don't know what it does, so I don't really care at this point, but I'll figure that out and put that in the next video. Summon Rush, we actually got some rewards there. From what we did, so that's pretty exciting. I'll probably try to get some mystery shards here, just I only need a few, and get this extra 250,000 silver, which is always a benefit, and I got 11 hours to do that, so I got some work in front of me. But that's about what I got for you today. I appreciate you tuning in and taking the time. It's been fun bringing this account along. That's day 5 and 6. So I'll probably try to drop a video for day 7 and 8 and show you the benefits of what we got with Alice on the account. Hopefully next time I'll have that 6-star character going and farming some food. So appreciate you. If you haven't liked and subscribed, please do so. It means the world to me, and I will see you next time.